Hello friends, welcome to Affairs Cloud Learn to Lead. This is Ashu and today we will discuss very important current affairs of 8th of June 2021. You can see two best images of the day, but today we will discuss very important and the most important current affairs. So watch this video till last. And guys, you can download our application. Application name is Careers Cloud and you can download from description box link. And after downloading, you have to log in with your email ID and you can click after that on crack current affair section. And you can subscribe for 1 year as well as for 2 year validity. Both the subscription prices are very much low, but the most important thing that we are covering 90 to 95% current affairs which are coming in your exam. This is the genuinity and this is the hard work of Affairs Cloud team. But first of all, we are providing under this subscription, we are providing daily current affairs. In the daily current affair section, you will receive three type of sections. One is detailed current affair, next is the question and answer format of current affair, and third is the quiz section, which you can attempt on an application on daily basis. Next is the weekly section. Again, you will receive three type of the sections. One is detailed current affair of particular week. Next is the question and answer format of current affairs. And third is the quiz section, which you can attempt on our application on weekly basis. Next is the most important section, that is the monthly section. We are providing four type of PDFs. One is study PDF. It means all the detailed current affair of particular month will be provided. Question and answer format of current affairs of particular month. Top 100, it means the best 100 current affair will be provided to you. That is also provided in the form of question and answer. And last is the pocket PDF. It means 2-liner, 3-liner current affairs will be provided to you so that you can revise in the quick format before your exam. But we are also providing some smart PDFs to enhance your performance, like we are providing topic-wise PDF. We are covering 20 most important topics which are very important for every type of exam. And if you want to just revise all the current affairs related to just one topic, then you have to just pick one PDF related to this topic. Next is the banking awareness section, especially for the banking aspirants. We are covering three things. One is the detail and question and answer format of the current affairs only related to banking and economy. Next is the quiz section, which you can attempt on our application every month, but it is only related to banking and economy. If you want to revise all the past current affairs of 2019, like you want to revise all 5 months, past 5 months current affair, you have to pick this exam PDF and you can revise all the past current affair just from single PDF. Next is special current affairs. Special stands for budget and economic survey. It means we are providing detailed and factual data related to budget and economic survey. Also, we are providing expected question and answer which examiner can ask from budget and economic survey. We are also providing state current affairs to enhance your state performance, and we are covering every state and union territory. So guys, there is no different subscription for every topic. There is just single subscription. You have to just download our application from the downloading link which is given in the description box. You have to log in with your email ID and you have to click on this crack current affair section. After that, you can subscribe for 1 year as well as for 2 years. Both the subscription prices are very much low. If you see the price, you will definitely surprise. And on that minimal price, we are providing 10% extra discount if you use this code ASH10. If you have any type of query, then you can email us on this email ID or you can call us on this number. So let's begin today's session. That is 8th of June 2021. But I am requesting you all the students that you have to like this video, you have to share this video, and you have to subscribe this channel. And guys, you can join our Telegram group from the description box link. So let's begin today's session with the most important question section. And here is our first question. What is the rank of India on the 17th Sustainable Development Goal as per the State of India's Environment Report 2021? So first of all, the most important thing, that the State of India's Environment Report is published by which organization? So this is published by CSE. CSE stands for Center for Science and Environment. And if we are comparing with the last year, then India rank has dropped by 2 places, because in the last year, India ranked on the Sustainable Development Goals on the 115th position. But now India is on the 117th. It means answer of this question is D. You can see here, India slips 2 spots to rank 117 on 17 Sustainable Development Goals adopted as 2030 agenda, because all you know that we have to achieve all the Sustainable Development Goals, that are the 17 by the year of 2030, which are adopted as a part of agenda by the 2030 by 193 United Nations member states in 2015, and total timeline was from 2015 to 2030, and these are 17 goals which we have to achieve by the year of 2030. And you have to remember, this index is released by Center for Science and Environment, and the overall Sustainable Development Goal score of India is 61.9 out of 100. And one very poor thing about this number is that India rank below 4 South Asian countries. Like India rank is below than Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka and the Bangladesh. And why there is a drop in the rank? Because major challenges that are prevailing in India, such as ending hunger, achieving food security, that comes under the Sustainable Development Goal number 2, achieving gender equality, that is SDG number 5, and building resilient infrastructure, promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization and fostering innovation. It is SDG 9. So basically you can see 3 goals: SDG 2, SDG 5 and SDG 9. India is lacking under these areas. So that's why India's score is basically downing and India's rank downing by 2 points. But if we are comparing the states, then Kerala, Himachal Pradesh and in UT Chandigarh were the best states and UTs with an overall score. It means these states or the UTs can achieve these sustainable development goals by the year of 2030. And Jharkhand and Bihar were the least prepared states to meet the SDGs by the target year 2030. And Jharkhand and Bihar lag 5 and 7 out of 17 sustainable development goals. So this is a huge. And guys, remember, as per the report of 2020, 39 lakh people in India were displaced due to climate disasters and conflicts, making it the 4th worst hit country in the world to have such a high number of internal displacements. Because you see, the last decade saw the highest number of the cyclonic storms over the North Indian Ocean since 1970. Between 1970 to 2020, total cyclonic storms were 127, and out of which the maximum cyclones come 33 between 2011 to 2020. And in 2021 and you can say in 2020, the 5 cyclonic storms were there, like cyclone Amphan was there, cyclone Nisarga or Nisarga was there, cyclone Nivar, cyclone Gati, cyclone Burevi was there. So these are the cyclones which hit Indian coast. So that's why the major challenge is related to the environmental factors. So guys, you have to remember the best states are Kerala and Himachal Pradesh, best UT is Chandigarh, and worst states are Jharkhand and Bihar to achieve the sustainable development goals. But guys, you can also remember the other options. These are again very important options. Like you can see here, the first is 102nd rank. 102nd rank is achieved by India in the World Press Freedom Index. So remember, World Press Freedom Index, most important index. It is the index of 2021, and India's rank is 142nd, and the top country was Norway. And this index is published by Reporters Without Borders. Next is 121st. It is a economic freedom index. Economic freedom index. Remember, it is a press freedom index. It is a economic freedom index, and it is also of 2021. And India was ranked on the 121st position, and Singapore was on the top. And this index is published by one of the United States think tank named as Heritage Foundation. Next is 86th. This is very popular. It is a corruption perception index of 2020, because 2021 was not released yet. So it is a corruption perception index of 2020. And India's rank was 86th, and it was published by Transparency International. And the top countries are New Zealand and Denmark. So guys, remember this. These are very important indexes which can be asked especially in the SBI exam. So now we can move to the next question. Which city will be developed as India's first e-vehicle only city? So you have to remember, this is the most important question because it will be the first e-vehicle only city. So I am giving you one hint that this city also has 182-meter statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, popularly known as the Statue of Unity. So answer of this question is very simple now. Answer is Kevadia. So remember, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji, stated about the plans underway to develop India's first electric vehicle city at Kevadia, Gujarat. And remember, 182-meter statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel also situated under this city, which is also known as Statue of Unity. So you can see here, Prime Minister Narendra Modi report of the expert committee of the roadmap of ethanol blending in India 2020 to 25. Because recently the Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the World Environment Day on 5th of June, jointly organized by the Ministry of Petroleum, Natural Gas and the Ministry of Environment. And the main theme was promotion of biofuels for a better environment. Promotion of biofuels for a better environment. And you know, we have to achieve 20% of the ethanol blending by the year of 2025. 2023. So guys, this is a new target and we covered this question in the very important section 2 or 3 days back. So remember, earlier this year was 2025, but now we have to achieve 20% ethanol blending with petrol by the year of 2023. And even Prime Minister Modi ji launched 3 E100 pilot project in Pune. Prime Minister launched these projects as a dispensing stations at 3 locations in the Pune, Maharashtra, and it is for the production and distribution of ethanol across India. And government has released the E20 notification directing oil companies to sell ethanol blended petrol with a percentage of ethanol up to 20% by the year of 2023. So you have to remember this. And even Prime Minister Modi ji stated that India is one of the top 5 countries in the world in terms of installed renewable energy capacity. And the capacity for renewable energy has increased by more than 250% in the last 6 to 7 years. And capacity of solar energy has also increased by almost 15 times in the last 6 years. And India plans to reduce its carbon footprint from 2005 levels by 33 to 35% by the year of 2030. Because about 98% of the fuel requirement in the road transportation sector is currently met by the fossil fuels and the remaining 2% by the biofuels. So India net import of the petroleum is very much high. So that's why we have to reduce this import of petroleum and we have to depend on the renewable sources of energy. So that's why we can basically reduce this carbon footprint from the 2005 levels by 33 to 35% by the year of 2030. So you have to just remember these things. And what is ethanol? So many students are asking that it is one of the principal biofuels which is naturally produced by the fermentation of sugars by yeast or via petrochemicals processes such as ethylene hydration, and it has medical application as an antiseptic and disinfectant, and it is used as a chemical solvent in the synthesis of organic compounds apart from being an alternative fuel source. So you don't have to remember these things, just remember 2 or 3 things. I am giving you 2 or 3 takeaway points, like India's first e-vehicle city, that is Kevadia. You can also remember with the name of the Statue of Unity. Second, we have to achieve 20% of ethanol blending in petrol by the year of 2023. And what is the theme of India's Environment Day? Promotion of biofuels for a better environment. We covered this question in the yesterday's video. Now we can move to the next question. Who won Formula 1 Azerbaijan Grand Prix 2021? It means I am talking about Formula 1 racing. So the main keyword is Azerbaijan Grand Prix 2021. It was held in the capital of Azerbaijan, that is in Baku. So remember, Baku. And who won this race? Not, guys, it is not Lewis Hamilton, it is Sergio Perez. So remember, Sergio Perez, and he belongs to which country? He belongs to Mexico. Won the Formula 1 Azerbaijan Grand Prix 2021. Remember this. Lewis Hamilton was on the 15th place, but you don't have to remember because it is won by Sergio Perez. Only the examiner can ask the winner. So you can see here the picture of Sergio Perez, and you can see the total races of 2021 which was held till date. Like first, the Bahrain Grand Prix was held and it was won by the Lewis Hamilton. Next is Emilia Romagna. It was won by the Max Verstappen. Portugal Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton again. Spain, again Lewis Hamilton. Monaco, Max Verstappen. And Azerbaijan, Sergio Perez. So you have to remember only which was not won by the Lewis Hamilton. Like 2 exercises, or you can say 2 racing. One is the Emilia Romagna. Second is Monaco. Third is the Azerbaijan. So these you have to remember. Otherwise, all the races maximally won by the Lewis Hamilton. So that's why you have to remember which was not won by Lewis Hamilton. So this is very, very important. And all the F1 racings are organized and conducted by Federation International the Automobile, which headquarter in Paris, France. Now we can move to the next question. Which state occupied the highest grade, that is grade I++ for 2019-20 according to the Performance Grading Index 2019-20 for the states and UTs? First of all, you have to remember that this index or Performance Grading Index 2019-20 for the states and UTs is released by Department of School Education and Literacy. Department of School Education and Literacy, which comes under Ministry of Education, and the states of Punjab, Chandigarh, Tamil Nadu, and Andaman Nicobar and Kerala occupied the highest grade for 2019-20. And if we are talking about the top state, then answer of this question is Punjab. So guys, remember top state who scored best grading under this 2019-20 index of education, that is Punjab. And after that, the second rank goes to, you can say in the state list, it is Tamil Nadu. It is Tamil Nadu. Third rank goes to Kerala, but first rank goes to Punjab. So you have to remember. But if the examiner is asking about the UTs, then answer of this question is Chandigarh. Remember, answer of this question is Chandigarh in the UTs category, and second rank in the UTs category goes to Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So that's why I was saying that Punjab, Chandigarh, Tamil Nadu, Andaman Nicobar and Kerala occupied the highest grades for 2019-20. And what is this performance grading index? You can see here, this is a grade sheet basically overall, and Punjab scored highest like 929. And Chandigarh is on the second. If we are combinedly comparing the states and the union territories, then Chandigarh points are 912. After that, Kerala is there 901, and Tamil Nadu is also there 906. It means second rank goes to Tamil Nadu, first rank in the state list goes to Punjab. And you can see here, performance grading index is basically released by Department of School Education and Literacy. It comes under the Ministry of Education, and performance grading index measures the progress made by the states and UTs with regard to school education. And you can say such as the learning outcomes is there, assess and equity is there, infrastructure and facilities, governance and management processes are there, and this index uses 70 indicators. And guys, you can also remember this is the third edition of this report, because the first edition was published in 2019 with reference year of 2017-18, and after that in 2020 with reference year of 18-19, and now in 2021 reference year is 19-20. So this is the third time this index was published, and it will help states and UTs to undertake multi-pronged interventions to achieve optimal education outcome. It is just for the betterment of the education. You can just remember this. Or you can just say that the main objective of this index is to speeding up transformational change in the field of school education, and it will help find gaps and prioritize areas for the intervention. And you can see Punjab, Chandigarh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Andaman Nicobar, but in the state it was Punjab, in the UTs list it was Chandigarh. So this index is published by Ministry of Education. So you have to remember, Union Minister is Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank ji, and whose constituency is in Haridwar, Uttarakhand. And Minister of State is Dotre, Sanjay Shamara, or you can say Sanjay Dotre. His constituency is Akola, Maharashtra, but you don't have to remember about the Minister of State. Now we can move to the next question. All the most important questions are now covered. We are moving to the very important question section, but you have to like this video, share this video and subscribe this channel, and you can join our Telegram group from the description box link. And here is the first question in the very important section. Who became the first Indian elected as a member of International Swimming Federation Bureau? So the very important thing under this question is the name of organization, International Swimming Federation Bureau. It is headquartered in Lausanne. So guys, remember, it is headquartered in Lausanne, Switzerland. And two elections were there. One is the member from the Indian side, and second is the president of this organization was also elected in the same meeting. And first of all, we are talking about the Indian who is elected as the member of this organization, and first Indian is Virender Nanavati. Remember, answer of this question is C, and you can see his picture here. Virender Nanavati elected as the FINA's Bureau member, and FINA stands for Federation, International Swimming Federation Bureau, and he is the first Indian to be elected as a bureau member of this organization, and he is elected for the time period of 5 years from 2021 to 2025. And remember, he is currently the Vice President of Indian Olympic Association. This is again very important. And guys, remember who is recently elected as the President of this International Swimming Federation Bureau. Who is elected? That is Hussain Al Musallam. So you have to remember, Hussain Al Musallam or Musallam has been elected as the President of International Swimming Federation. And he belongs to which country? He belongs to Kuwait. So remember. And South Africa, Sam Ramswamy has been appointed as the first Vice President of the FINA. But you have to remember these appointments because these are important, especially the Indian member and the President of this organization, because these elections took place recently. So that's why we are covering this question combinedly. So remember, the President Hussain Al Musallam and the Indian side Indian side will be represented by Virender Nanavati. So remember this. And you can also cover some another options, like you can see here Arun Kumar Singh. Arun Kumar Singh was recently appointed as chairman and managing director of Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, BPCL. Next is Padam Kumar Nair. He was recently appointed as chief executive officer of National Asset Reconstruction Company. Guys, this question is very very important because this will come in SBI. 100% this question will come because it is related to the National Asset Reconstruction Company, which was recently formed by RBI, and this person Padam Kumar Nair is the first chairman of this organization. So now we are moving to next question. 12th Chief Energy Ministerial 2021 and 6th Mission Innovation Ministerial hosted by which country? So guys, you have to remember two things under this question. One is the Chief Energy Ministerial Meeting of 2021. Second is the Mission Innovation Ministerial Meeting of 2021. And this is hosted by only one country. This is Chile or the Chile. So you have to remember this you can say Chief Energy Ministerial Meeting is a high level global forum that helps in promoting policies and programs which advance clean energy technology, and it provides a platform for all to demonstrate clean energy leadership to a global audience. And global leaders from across the world participated in the online meeting because it took virtually. So guys, you can see here Clean Energy Ministerial Meeting and Electric Vehicles Initiative, IEA, and so many organizations participated under this meeting, and it is the 12th Chief Energy Ministerial Meeting hosted by Chile or the Chile. And you can see here what was the theme. Theme is Ambition into Action, turning a year of ambition into a decade of delivery. And India, UK launched new work stream to promote energy efficiency. So the main objective of this work stream is to infuse green technology and increase demand for low carbon industrial material. And this initiative has been supported by the Germany and Canada, and more countries are expected to join the initiative soon. And you know, India have to achieve, or you can say cut emission intensity per unit of GDP by 33 to 35% by the year of 2030 if we are comparing with the 2005 level. And guys, remember, India launched global initiative for clean energy innovation. And this global initiative, which is launched by India, is also known as Mission Innovation Clean Tech Exchange 2.0, and its main aim to create a network of incubators to accelerate clean energy innovation. And India will host this meeting in year 2023, and now Chile is hosting 12th Clean Energy Ministerial Meeting, but in 2023 13th Clean Energy Ministerial Meeting will be hosted by India. So guys, you have to remember because the India will be host in 2023. So these things are very very important under this question. Now we can move to the next question. Who launched Seed Minikit program? So first of all, you have to remember that what is this program, Seed Minikit program? This is basically started by Ministry of Agriculture, and it is to distributing seed mini kits like higher yield variety of seeds to the farmers. And the mini kits are being provided by the central agencies like you can say National Seed Corporation, National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India, which is also known as NAFED, and Gujarat State Seeds Corporation. And Union Minister of Agriculture is Narendra Singh Tomar. So by default question is very simple. Answer of this question is D. And you can see here Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar launched Seed Mini Kit program to boost producers of pulses and oil seeds. And you can also see here this program was fully funded by the central government through the National Food Security Mission, which was passed in 2013. And the seed distribution will be continued till 15th of June 2021. And even government released some data that a total of approximately 20 lakh seed kits will be provided for the pulses, more than 8 lakh seed kits will be provided for the soya bean, and 74,000 seed kits will be provided for the groundnuts, and it will be provided free of cost directly to the farmers under the National Food Security Mission. And this will be continued till 15th of June 2021. And guys, remember, oil seed production also increased in India, pulses production also increased, and even you can say rice and wheat production is also increased in India. But you can remember here the organization that is very important, which is known as NAFED. It was established in 1958. Year is not so much important. Its chairman is Bijender Singh. You can just read this, Bijender Singh. And guys, remember the Union Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Union Minister is Narendra Singh Tomar. Constituency is Morena, Madhya Pradesh. And Minister of State is Purushottam Rupala. He is currently the Rajya Sabha member from Gujarat. Now we can move to the next question. Famous writer and Padam Shri Dr. Lakshmi Nandan Bora passed away. He was writer of which language? So you have to remember three things under any obituary. One is the name, who died. Second, the state he belongs to. Third, the profession. So first of all, the name you know, Dr. Lakshmi Nandan Bora, state Assam, and profession writer. And if he is a writer, then you have to remember the language of the writing. The language of the writing is Assamese. So remember, answer of this question is A. So you can see here the picture of this writer, Assamese literature Lakshmi Nandan Bora passed away. And you can also see here his first short story Bhano was published in Ramdenu Assamese magazine in 1954. I am covering these things only for the Assamese student. Otherwise, don't remember anything about this person. You have to just remember three things: the name of this person, you have to remember the field he belongs to, and the state he belongs to. His first book was Drishti Rupa, was published in 1958, and he published his first novel Gonga Shilonir Pakhi in 1963. He won 1988 Sahitya Academy Award for his novel Patal Bhairavi. So you have to remember this novel is very, very famous, Patal or the Patal Bhairavi. In 2008, he received the Saraswati Samman for KK Birla Foundation for his novel Kaya Kalp. Again, this novel is very, very famous. The government of India honored him with the Padam Shri in 2015 under the literature and education category. And you can also remember that Dr. Lakshmi Nandan Bora was the first person to receive a doctoral degree in meteorology from Andhra Pradesh. And he has also served as the chairman of Assam Pollution Control Board from 1997 to 2003. But it is only for the Assamese students which I am giving you so much detail. Otherwise, just remember three things. Now we can move to the next question. Which company joined United Nations Global Compact CEO Water Mandate for water conservation and the management? So the very important thing under this question, United Nations Global Compact CEO Water Mandate. What is this thing? It is designed to assist the companies in development, implementation and disclosure of comprehensive water strategies and the policies. It also provides a platform for the companies to partner with the other companies with similar ideas and United Nations agencies, public authorities, civil society organization and other stakeholders to conservation for the conservation of water and the management of water. And this company is NTPC India Limited. So guys, remember answer of this question is D. NTPC joins United Nations CEO Water Mandate to work towards water conservation. And you can also see here NTPC has taken a series of measures across its plans on water management and water conservation. And NTPC will work on the promoting 3 R's. 3 R's stands for reduce, reuse and recycle for the conservation and management of water. And NTPC is committed to address the water sustainability issues through implementing a water policy that will serve as a directive for establishing water management strategies, systems, processes, practices and research initiatives. And guys, remember one thing about the CEO Water Mandate, that it was started by the United Nations and it is to partner the company so that they can conserve the water, they can basically manage the water recycling process. And you know all things about NTPC. You can also remember NTPC Limited was also known as the National Thermal Power Corporation Limited. Its headquarters is in New Delhi. This organization was established in 1975 and its chairman and managing director is Gurdeep Singh. So remember Gurdeep Singh. Now we can move to the next question. What is the theme for the World Food Safety Day 2021? Guys, mark this question in the very important section. And first of all, you have to remember this day is celebrated on 7th of June every year. After the 2 days of World Environment Day, World Food Safety Day is celebrated. And it is just to create awareness about the methods to prevent and detect foodborne risks and to ensure food security, human health, economic prosperity, agriculture, market access, tourism and sustainable development. But there is very confusing thing because one is the theme of the day, second is the slogan of the day. So theme of the day is Theme of the day is Safe Food Today for a Healthy Tomorrow. This is the theme, guys. Remember, theme of the day is this. But slogan of this day, World Food Safety Day, is Food Safety is Everyone Business. So it is a slogan. So guys, you have to remember which is theme, which is slogan. An examiner can confuse you in between this. So World Food Safety Day 2021 celebrated on 7th of June. So you have to remember these things. What is the theme and what is the slogan? And you can also remember the main organization which is attached with this day. This is the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Its headquarters is in Rome, Italy. And guys, remember the Director General. We already covered this point in the yesterday's video 2 times. The you can say Director General is Q or the U Dongyu. 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 Q Dongyu is currently the Director General. And guys, you can also remember the other days here. Like you can see here, the first, forest and livelihood. We covered this question so many times. Forest and livelihood. This is the theme of World Wildlife Day. World Wildlife Day, which was celebrated on the 3rd of March 2021. Next, food safety is everyone business. It was the slogan of this day. Food safety today for a healthy tomorrow. It is a theme. Restore our health. This is important, guys. You have to remember it is the theme of International Mother Earth Day. International Mother Earth Day, which was celebrated on 22nd of April. Now we can move to the next question. National Medicinal Plant Board and which institute has signed a MOU for the promotion of production of medicinal plants in India? So very important words under this question. It is for the production or the promotion of medicinal plants, or you can say medicinal herbs in India. And it is by the National Medicinal Plant Board, and the institute is National Botanical Research Institute, which is situated in Lucknow. So you can also see here NMPB. NMPB stands for National Medicinal Plant Board, and CSIR, NBRI. NBRI stands for National Botanical Research Institute, which is situated in Lucknow, signed MOU for the promotion and cultivation and production of the medicinal plants and the herbs. So it is to establish medicine plants and the herb nurseries, and you can also remember it is to facilitate the development of the quality planting material for medicinal plants and the herbs identifying by the National Medicinal Plant Board. And it is to help in development, promotion, conservation and cultivation of the appropriate medicinal plants in the different agroclimatic zones. And it also includes the threatened medicinal plant species and plants for the high altitude regions. So it will definitely help in carrying out the potential medicinal plant species with the high commercial value, and also it supports establishment of nursery and the seed banks or the gene banks in India. And guys, remember recent related news that National Medicinal Plant Board of the Ministry of Ayush signed a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying for formulating new drugs using medicinal herbs for the use of the veterinary science. It means in the veterinary science we are also researching on the medicinal herbs and the plants. So this is very important. And guys, remember about National Botanical Research Institute. Its headquarters is in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. And always remember about National Medicinal Plant Board. Its headquarters is in New Delhi, and Chief Executive Officer is JLN Sastry. JLN Sastry. So you can just remember the name, otherwise it is not important. So you can just remember that National Medicinal Plant Board comes under the Ministry of Ayush, that is Ayurveda, Yoga, Neuropathy, Unani, Siddha and the Homeopathy. You can just remember this. Now we can move to the next question. Which state or UT has launched YonTab scheme for the students? So remember the name of the scheme. This is the most important keyword for you, YonTab. And by the name you can guess that this tab word is used because of tablets, and 12,300 tablets will be distributed to the government school students under the Ladakh district. So guys, you have to remember it is by the Ladakh. And you can see here Ladakh Lieutenant Governor Radhakrishnan Mathurji launched YonTab scheme for the students of encourage digital learning, so that maximum to maximum digital learning can be promoted. And total 12,300 tablets will be preloaded online and offline content, like textbooks will be there, video lectures will be there, and online class applications will be there, and it will be distributed among the students from class 6 to 12th in the government schools, not in the private schools, only in the government schools. And scheme was launched as an attempt for long-term technology infusion in the education system. And guys, you can also remember that recently this Ladakh government also started one scheme which is known as REWA scheme. And under this scheme, students of class 10th and 12th, student of class 10th to 12th, you can say, and 12th, who avail coaching for the exams such as NEET, JEE, NDA, or you can say the CLAT, would be reimbursed a coaching fees up to rupees 1 lakh, and providing financial assistance of rupees 1.54 lakh for students who are clearing preliminary exam of civil services, IES or IFS. So it is the financial assistance to those students, and financial assistance of 1.54 lakh for the students who are clearing the civil service exam, Indian engineering services exam, and Indian forest service exam. And also rupees 25 lakh will be provided to the Gram Panchayats for conducting community classes for primary school students in the villages. So this is the REVA scheme. You have to remember, it is also started by the Ladakh government. And Ladakh Union Territory was created on the 31st of October 2019 after Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act was passed. So remember, it is the second least populated UT in India. Second least populated UT in India. And Lieutenant Governor is Radhakrishan Mathur. Capital is Leh, Kargil. So if Ladakh is the second least populated UT in India, then which UT is the least populated UT on the first place? This is, guys, Lakshadweep. So remember, Lakshadweep is the least populated UT in India, and the second least populated is Ladakh. Now we can move to the next question, and it is just from the picture because it is an old question and it was notified recently that Raimona becomes the Assam's 6th national park, because there are already 5 national parks which are listed, but now it is the 6th national park. This is the Raimona National Park. You can also remember the other national parks in the Assam, like Kaziranga National Park is there. Nameri National Park is there, very important. Dibru-Saikhowa, one of the biosphere reserve is also, and also the national park in Assam. Orang National Park, this is also known as Rajiv Gandhi Orang National Park. Next is Manas National Park. So I think we covered 5. That's Kaziranga, Nameri, Dibru 3rd, Orang 4th, and Manas is the 5th, and 6th is the Raimona National Park. So Raimona National Park is an integral part of the Manas Biosphere Reserve and Chirang Ripu Elephant Reserve. So you have to remember, it is an integral part of the 2 areas. One is the Manas Biosphere Reserve and second is the Chirag Ripu Elephant Reserve. Both are situated in the you can say both are situated in the area of Assam, and Ripu Elephant Reserve is basically situated in the area of West Bengal and you can say Assam. It forms a boundary with the India-Bhutan border in the north and West Bengal Ripu Reserve Forest in the south. That's why its name is the Chirang Ripu, because it is the Assam and it is West Bengal. And now it is sharing boundary with the India and Bhutan border in the north area, and in the south it is sharing boundary with the West Bengal Ripu Reserve Forest. And Assam government is also planning to convert Dahing Patkai Wildlife Sanctuary. Remember, Dahing Patkai Wildlife Sanctuary as the state's 7th national park. So it become 7th national park after the state notification. We will not covering this point now because it will be notified. It is now notified. It is not now notified. The Hing Patkai Wildlife Sanctuary. And guys, remember, Government of India approved Shri Villiputhur Meghamalai Tiger Reserve in the Tamil Nadu, and it becomes the 51st Tiger Reserve of India. 51st Tiger Reserve of India. And you can also remember about the Assam. Assam's Chief Minister recently elected as Himant Biswa Sharma, and Governor is Jagdish Mukhi. And there is a state animal, one horned rhino, which is you can say situated in Kaziranga National Park. And Assam shares international boundary with Bangladesh and Bhutan. And Brahmaputra river is also flowing from the Arunachal Pradesh. After that, it enters to the Assam, and there they are. This Brahmaputra is forming one of the riverine island of India. One of the riverine island which is known as Majoli Island. So remember, it is created by Brahmaputra in Assam. And if you are talking about the Brahmaputra river, then it is known as Soro of Assam in Assam area. So you can remember these things. These are just very basic things. Now we are moving to the important question section. You have to like this video, share this video, and you can subscribe this channel. And guys, you can join our Telegram group from the description box link. And here is the question in the important section. Which day marked the observance of the 24th BIMSTEC? BIMSTEC stands for Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation Day. So guys, remember, we are talking about very important organization that is known as BIMSTEC. And this day is basically celebrated every year as a BIMSTEC Day, 6th of June. 6th of June. And you have to remember how many countries are basically member, and we are celebrating the prosperity cooperation in the past 24 years of the BIMSTEC. And you can see here, this is a BIMSTEC, and these countries countries are basically the members of BIMSTEC, and you can see here 6th June is celebrated as the BIMSTEC day. And you can remember 7 member countries. 7 member countries are basically you can say Bangladesh is there. Yes, Bangladesh is there. Bhutan is there, Nepal is there, India, Myanmar, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. And remember, first summit held in Thailand, and this organization was founded in 1997 as the Bangkok Declaration. So remember, Bangkok Declaration is basically belongs to BIMSTEC, and Sri Lanka is the current chairman. So you can also remember this. And BIMSTEC is very important because it contributes 22% of the world's population. $2.7 trillion is a combined GDP of this organization. 1/4 of the world's traded goods cross Bay every year, that is Bay of Bengal. And BIMSTEC has contributed to peace, stability, and prosperity cooperation in the past 24 years because it was formed in 1997. So we are talking about the past 24 years. And the economic bloc was initially formed by the 4 countries which were known as the BIST EC. And BIST EC stands for Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and remember, and Thailand. And EC stands for Economic Cooperation. It means it is a group of Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and Thailand Economic Cooperation. In 1997, Myanmar was included, and this organization becomes BIMST. Here I am writing BIMSTEC. BIM stands for Bangladesh, India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. And EC stands for Economic Corridor. After the 6th ministerial meeting, 3 countries again added, that is Thailand, Nepal, and Bhutan. After that, the name changed to the BIMSTEC. And even Prime Minister Narendra Modi stated that BIMSTEC has become a promising regional grouping and had progressed on various fronts, including the finalization of the master plan for the connectivity. So remember, about BIMSTEC, its secretariat is in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and its Secretary General is Tenzing Lekpal, and he belongs to Bhutan. And it was established in 1997 through the Bangkok Declaration. And member countries, we already covered this point. Now we can move to the next section. It is our one-liner important point. Here is the first point. 8th Global Nitrogen Conference focuses on the Sustainable Development Goals. So this conference was held with the main focus on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And guys, remember, nitrous oxide has up to 300 times higher global warming potential than carbon dioxide. That's why there is a 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference, which is also known as COP26, will be held in Glasgow, Scotland in November 2021. So you can also remember this. Next, Pakistan retained on enhanced follow-up status by the FATF regional body. So you have to remember here the organization, that is FATF, and according to FATF, recently Pakistan was put under the grey list of the FATF. And guys, remember, it was by the Paris-based FATF in June 2018 when it was pushed on the grey list. And countries on the grey list will not get any respite in trying to assess finances in the form of investment and aid from the international bodies, including the International Monetary Fund. But now the Pakistan rating has improved on 21 of the 40 technical recommendations. 21 out of 40 technical recommendations of the global watchdog against the money laundering and the terror financing. So you have to just remember this. Next, PSU bank sanctions 95% of the total loans under the PM Swanidhi scheme. So guys, it is just a data that under the PM Swanidhi, public sector banks have sanctioned 95% of the total loans. And it is given to the street vendors, and PSU Bank had sanctioned almost 23 lakhs loans under this scheme by the 31st May of 2021. And PM Swanidhi, you all know that Prime Minister Street Vendor Atmanirbhar Nidhi, and under this scheme, collateral free working capital loan up to rupees 10,000 of 1 year tenure is being provided, and the scheme aims to financing approximately 50 lakh street vendors, and a collateral free loan is a loan provided to the borrower without any security. Next is United Nations Russian Language Day, celebrated on the 6th of June. So guys, remember, it is a day which is celebrated by the United Nations because the United Nations Language Day promotes multi-languagism and the development of all the 6 official languages of the United Nations. The 6 languages of the United Nations are Arabic. Remember, this is very important question. Arabic, Chinese is there, English is there, French, Russian, and Spanish. So these are basically the 6 official languages of the United Nations. And you all know about the United Nations Department of the Global Communication. Its headquarters is in New York. It was established in 1946. Remember this. Next is US President Joe Biden nominates Arun Venkataraman. So again, very important appointment is there, but you have to just remember the name Arun Venkataraman. United States President Joe Biden has announced Indian American person Arun Venkataraman as a nominee for the Director General of the United States and Foreign Commercial Service and the Assistant Secretary for the Global Market in the Department of Commerce. So this question is not so much important. You have to just remember the name Arun Venkataraman. Next, India's Shefali Verma tops in ICIC 2020 ranking. So guys, remember, we are talking about the women team here. That is Shefali Sharma tops in 2020 ranking, and she is just a 17-year-old and becomes the world number 1 ICC Women 2020 format cricketer. And guys, you can also remember ICC expands men's T20 and 50 over ODI World Cup for upcoming events. The ICC expanded that participating teams from 10 to 14. Now 14 teams will play and in the 50-50 World Cup, and 54 matches event will be in 2027 and 2031. And ICC reduced the number of qualifying teams to 10 as usual, the 14 during the 2011 World Cup, but now they are again increasing to the 14 teams, but it will be in 2027 and 2031 ODI World Cup. They also increased the number of teams in the T20 World Cup. They increased the number of teams to 20 in 2024 and 2030's Men T20 World Cup, and it will take place only every after 2 years. So remember, from 2024 to 2030, all the T20 tournament consists of 20 teams. And guys, you can also remember the most important thing here, that India is hosting ICC Men's T20 World Cup in 2021 and also ODI World Cup of 2023. So now we can move to the question of the day. What was the question of 6th and 7th of June 2021? Which one of the following is known as the father of leasing financing in India? So very static question and very important question. Answer of this question is Farooq Irani. So answer of this question is Farooq Irani. So leasing activity was initiated in India in 1973, and the first leasing company of India, also named as the First Leasing Company of India Limited, was set up in the 1973 by the Farooq Irani with his industrious friend AC Muthaiya, and for several years this company remained the only company in the country. And guys, you can also remember what is lease financing. Lease financing is one of the important sources of the medium and the long-term financing, where the owner of an asset gives another person the right to use that asset against a periodical payments, and the owner of the asset is known as lessor. So remember, owner of the asset is known as the lessor and the user is called lessee. So guys, you can remember this. This is a very important term. The owner of this asset is known as the lessor, and who is using this asset is basically with the periodical payment is lessee. So you can remember what is lease financing. So what is the question of the day now? Which was the first RRB to be set up in the eastern region of India? Because all the students know that which was the first RRB. It was the Prathama Gramin Bank, which was set up in the Moradabad, UP. But we are talking about the first RRB which was set up in the eastern region of India, and I am giving you hint that it was set up in the West Bengal at that time. So guys, give me answer in the comment box. Now question is very easy because I am already providing you a hint that it is situated in the West Bengal. So you can basically eliminate the options. So guys, please provide us likes, please subscribe this channel, please share this video as maximum as possible, and you can also press the bell button so that you can receive the notification on time. And it is a Affairs Cloud promise that it will boost your confidence in the general awareness section, and it is my personal promise that if you are watching the videos regularly and if you are reading the current affairs from the PDF, your current affairs section will go strong. And guys, remember, you can subscribe our PDFs from our application downloading link is given in the description box, and you can subscribe for 1 year as well as for 2 years. We are providing 10% extra discount if you use this code ASH10. And guys, don't take life so much serious. Life is fun. Always be happy. Thank you guys for watching this video and take care.